Saul Marquez is the founder and CEO of Outcomes Rocket, a healthcare exclusive marketing strategy and full service firm. He helps mid and med tech, health tech, and all forms of other kind of medical organizations to accelerate growth. And that is something we're going to be focusing on here today because medical industry and medical marketing is a real kind of driver of the way that we all do marketing in whatever organization type or sector we work in. So, Sol, welcome to the podcast.
Neil, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Great stuff. And, it's kind of a bit of a big build-up, really, because it is important, isn't it? The industry that you serve is a driver for a lot of stuff that happens elsewhere.
It really is, Neil. I had the privilege of, before starting our marketing strategy and full service execution agency, I had the privilege of working at many health tech, MedTech companies. The last place I was at Medtronic. I was there for 8 years. They're a global medical device company. And their mission to this day still resonates with me as sort of like I adopted the mission as sort of like why still stay in healthcare. And the mission is very, very succinctly said as alleviate pain, restore health, and extend life. And for me, that vision and mission always spoke to me as a very worthwhile thing to get out of bed in the morning for. And we're lucky that all of our clients are actually helping to that end. Whether it be the two segments that we serve are health technology, so software as a service that serves hospitals, insurance companies, or pharma. And then the other side is medical devices, right? It's those implantables or the wearables that help you live a better life, and a healthier life, health span over lifespan.
So this is really interesting because already you're kind of, very kind of driven by purpose here, and this is always a thing interesting
100%.
to me. It isn't just, and obviously it has to be about the money because we're business people. You have to be running a business, can't be sustainable without the money. But there's something bigger, something deeper at play here, isn't there? And that is such a motivator, I guess, not just for you, but for those people you work with as well.
Absolutely. And, before we flipped the record switch on, Neil, you and I were chatting about how amazing, first of all, the podcast platform is and chatting with people across the world. And, there's so much to learn from each other, specific to everything, but specific to healthcare and marketing. Like, I love what you guys are doing, single payer system, NIH. There's so many good practices in your country that we can be learning from in ours, and vice versa, right? And so we get the privilege of having these types of conversations so that in the end we could work on what I believe is the most important thing to optimize besides health. It's happiness. And so that's kind of a big thing for me. My wife and I are, like you said, mission oriented, and like we optimize for happiness.
And it's so key, isn't it? I mean, we're obviously, racing headlong into this kind of very tech-driven AI world where, there is this big debate, and I think this will continue about this kind of human versus robot, human versus machine thing. And whilst there's so many obviously huge advantages of kind of robotics, of AI, of all these emerging technologies, at the heart of it and at the core of it, even if we go down the hybrid route, there's still a human there who has to live, breathe, and, as you say, have a quality of existence that is going to serve them, but also those around them. It's a fine balance, though, isn't it, really? I mean, if you look at the world and you look at the media, a lot of us are getting it really tragically wrong right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of transformation. There's a lot of disruption. There's a lot of opportunity. And, when you sort of take a step back and you live in today's day, you're in a time where, it's like the .coms all over again. The internet transformed our world. And AI is currently transforming our world as we know it. There's never like I feel so privileged and lucky to be alive right now. And as business owners, we have to be thinking about our AI strategy. And so it's one thing to be using AI to optimize your business, to improve your workflows, to work more efficiently. It's very important that we get the strategy straight. Now, when we talk about marketing, I actually, the quote that I love, and we talk with our customers and internally all the time with regard to marketing, it's from Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Tactics are the noise you hear before the war is lost. And so in marketing, it's so easy for that to happen. Like you have all these tactics, you know, but if you don't get your strategy straight, you're toast. And so I believe the same is true for AI. In AI, there are so many point solutions and so many tactics. If you don't get your strategy straight, you're toast. And so, you know, it's really important that as organizations, we think about our AI strategy. How are we going to use it? What's going to be our process? What will it do? What won't it do? I think that with AI, as with marketing, it's important to define what it will not do, what you will not do. I would even say that's more important than what you will do. And so anyway, I say that because I'm approaching it with the lens, the same lens that we approach marketing with, you know? And so there's opportunity, but if you don't take that step back, it's the tactics you hear before the war is lost.
And that's where I guess all this kind of confusion and noise, and I mean, there is so much hype, so much hype. You know, I've been in this kind of industry long enough to remember a number of cycles, including the birth of the internet. I'm that old, but here now it is just the noise that is almost deafening, really. And I think as a decision maker, as somebody who is maybe responsible for the strategy or driving the strategy in a business, there's nowhere to hide here, is there? You have to have a view. You have to be looking at integration. You have to be working out some kind of route map or time plan. And yet there's no textbook that tells you how to do it, because we're all making this up as we go, because we've never been here before. How are you seeing that playing out in your industry?
Yeah, you know, we are working with our clients to, and again, part of positioning, right? So I'm going to frame this in a marketing perspective, knowing that that's your niche, Neil, and that's my niche, our niche. And so here's the frame. The frame is essentially 4 parts. The first part is strategy. And then the next 3 parts are owned, earned, and paid. So like that is the easiest frame for this thing that I was looking for my Rubik's Cube. I don't have it in here, but like marketing is algorithmic. And actually, so is AI, right? And so when I think of this frame very simply, strategy is about, you know, your brand house. This is sort of like your positioning, your vision, your performance promise, what you're going to do in the market, how you're going to do it, and differentiation, right? That's sort of like your strategy. Underneath that is personas. It's ICPs, right? Your ideal client profiles. Those are the business types, employees, revenue, all that. Demographic, psychographic, if you're B2B, B2C. And so those are all the layers. And then your messaging architecture, very important, right? That's sort of part of your strategy. And then so once you have your strategy set, the next step is to understand how you're going to deploy it within owned, earned, and paid. So in marketing, there's 3 types of marketing. There's owned marketing. That's the messaging that you put out on your properties, digital and physical. From your website to your conference booth to your newsletter. Those are your owned assets. Then you have earned. Earned is everything, I love the quote from Bill Gates: if I was down to my last dollar, I'd spend it on PR. And earned is about what other people say about you, whether it be journalists. We call it OPS, other people's stages. We took that term from a gentleman. I went to a seminar. What is his name? I'll have to get his name because I want to give him credit for that. But OPS, other people's stages. And so, Neil, I'm on your stage, right? Like you have worked hard. 700 plus episodes is huge. Like you're just like a machine. And like, I have the privilege of being on your stage, and I don't take that lightly. I come here to add massive value to all of your listeners and viewers. So earned stages can also be live stages. They could be op-eds in a publication or a trade journal, right? So this is all sort of the earned. And then finally, you have paid. And paid is paying to be at a conference, paying for ads on social media or programmatic ads or television, whatever it might be. And in that order, because if you do not have strategy first and owned in order, and you've got some third-party credibility in place, I don't think you have any business doing ads, because they're not going to serve you. Ads should be powering up funnels that produce ROI, and that that if you put 1 pound in, 5 are going to come out the other side, right? So get it right. Now, the other side to paid is, I get it. You can use it as a feedback loop that expedites, resonance and will something hit. But anyway, so you have that frame, strategy, owned, earned, paid. And so it's like crazy how applicable that frame that we use within marketing, how applicable that is to now AI and how we use AI, and I will ask any of you listening to this that if you take a look at your P&L for the month, your P&L is going to reflect the decisions you're making across this frame for both AI and marketing. And if you don't get your strategy straight, you're going to be spending a lot of money on different things that don't connect and that don't deliver. And then the last thing that I'll say, Neil, is that if you get this right, especially all the messaging stuff in the strategy pillar, that's where AI can really help you. Because if you don't, your organization is going to spin out of control with messaging that's totally unaligned across the board from your team, across all the channels. You're going to be so fragmented the way you show up. But if it's together and it's tight and you make good tech decisions on the strategy side, if you set up the right ChatGPT or Claude infrastructure for your organization and you feed it the right information and you give it the right skills and you connect it to the right apps, you're going to be firing on all cylinders, and your chances for success are much more improved than not.
I would say, before I come back with another question for you, so I would just want to say a little kind of embarrassing moment there from Saul saying, I'm doing so well with 700. Everybody listening, I'm just going to whisper this. Saul has got 3 times as many episodes on his podcast. We're looking at around 2,300 episodes. I'm just a beginner. I'm just a little kid. And Saul is a master of this. And absolutely, you have to check it out. We will put the link to the podcast in the show notes in the description below. So you need to go and check that one out too. Lots of value in there. So anyway, back to the conversation, the little promotional moment there. That was earned media for sure. They're coming in loud and clear. So the trends that you're seeing then, obviously there is this thing that, obviously the strategy through to the various kind of tactical kind of outputs that we're going to see as customers of the brands that you're working with. It is great. And that's an incredible foundation, I think, for everybody to be working with. Well, what are the other trends that you're seeing? Things that maybe this year are becoming either pain points for the marketers or the business decision makers that you touch on, or maybe new opportunities that they hadn't seen maybe last year?
Yeah, one of the things, Neil, I love your question. And one of the things that I have seen lately, as a result of AI is an insurgence of sameness. And that's from the perspective of not only design, because like a lot of design is now being outsourced to AI, and you'll see that a lot of it looks the same. But also voice. You're seeing a lot of sameness in voice, and you're seeing a lot of AI slop. And so I think I wrote a piece recently about, outsource all these things, be thoughtful, be the final filter. Do not outsource your voice, because ultimately that is what sticks. That is what helps you differentiate. And when I say voice, I mean that at the individual level, like who you are as a person, but also at the brand level, who your company is as a company. It's very easy to go down the path of outsourcing it all, but don't outsource your soul. Don't outsource your voice. Make sure you own that. And so the way you own it is through proper documentation, proper thinking, and proper decision making on where you are and where you want to be, who you are and who you want to be, and anchoring yourself in those and being true to yourself, but also being true to your listeners and your viewers and your readers. Because at the end of the day, now that anybody can do volume, quality is more important than ever, and uniqueness is more important than ever. And like, I would even say lean into like not as heavily produced stuff as well. Like make it more real, right? Like there's a reason why TikTok is taking off, because it's real. Like you're capturing real stuff. I mean, granted, there's some fake stuff in there, but like it's like you're capturing moments, right? And if you could capture moments and you could capture emotion and you could relate and be authentic, that's the biggest opportunity that you have to resonate in a world where volume is easy now.
There were two phrases you used, and you kind of used them interchangeably there. One was don't outsource your voice, and then you said don't outsource your soul. I want to pick those apart, because that was a little moment, I think, and I just thought, now there is something going on here. So to me, those are two very different things from a communications perspective, because, well, they could be. Let me challenge that. They could be. They don't necessarily are. So the voice one, I would challenge that I've now got ChatGPT, my version of ChatGPT, call her Fern. We have a very close working relationship. She is literally working with me on pretty much everything now. And I can get her, and she does, to produce written content that I would challenge. Well, I can't spot it. I don't think my wife would spot the difference, and certainly a customer wouldn't spot the difference between me and Fern. So she is writing content now that is just so me. It just astounds me. I can't even remember whether I wrote it or whether Fern wrote it. But so that's the voice bit. But there is the but, and that's the soul bit. And that was interesting about when you said about being very, very real and being yourself. And I'm guessing that is the not outsourcing your soul, because there will be moments in your day, there will be times when you just have this little idea in your mind and you want to share it. And so that can be something then that just becomes the human part of the brand. Is that right? Am I kind of interpreting that right?
I recently had a thought that so I'm a big journaler. I love writing. And I recently had a thought that really resonated with me. And I want to share it with you, Neil. The thought is imagination is wisdom. And that thought comes from the soul. And your imagination is yours. This is your creativity engine. and don't doubt it, because what comes from within is wisdom. And if you listen to that, be true to it. Don't, like, you can outsource creativity, but man, there's gold in this imagination that you have. And if you allow it to guide you, you're going to just be amazed at what you can create. And so with that said, the soul is about who you are as a person. And so it's about being. And when you focus on being, you can actually be true to you. And then the important thing comes in documenting, and then gut checking it as frequently as you want to make sure that you stay on track with who you are, right? And then it's okay to then use technology to amplify that. But at the core of it, it's you, it's your imagination, and it's how you show up. And make sure you stay true to that. And that's sort of like my thoughts there. But that imagination is wisdom. I want your thoughts on that.
I love it. I really do. And I think, as you were describing that, I was just thinking, we, not just you and I, but we as in a species, just don't make enough time for this stuff. We get swept along by the doom scrolling through socials, by, time pressures from family and friends, by too much work on the desk every day, et cetera, et cetera. We just don't make enough time for that stuff. And that is where, as you called it, that's where the gold is, isn't it? It truly is.
I was walking on the beach this morning. I live in San Diego, and there was this guy. He had one of those metal detector things. And I just, I took my AirPods out because I was listening to some music walking. I do this every morning. I go out on the beach and I walk, right? I live about 7-minute drive from the beach. And it's my morning routine. I think I look at the water, and I see this guy, and I say, hey, what are you up to, man? Like, what are you looking for? And he starts telling me he's looking for, gold, and he's telling me about his machine. And I'm like, hey man, if you don't find any, just look around. Like, your gold is here. Like, the scene that you're looking for gold within is your gold. He's like, yeah, for sure, man, it is. But I'm looking for gold.
And it was hiding in plain sight. I love that. That's such a great story. I just had this image of you both, on the beach, San Diego. It's like, jealousy alert here, I can tell you. But I mean, that's just such a great story, isn't it? And I think, whether we're in healthcare marketing, whether we're in, heavy industrial world, whether we're in retail, wherever we are, it just, from both a professional and personal level, this is kind of what is so important. And yet we've all of us, I mean, I'm looking at you and I here, all almost lost sight of the fact that this is probably the one most fundamental thing where everything starts. So, your very best campaign, your next relationship, whatever it happens to be, it all starts from that imagination, doesn't it? It all starts from that grasping that thought, rather than just, let's do a quick search, or, let's look on socials. That's not where the gold is.
It's not. I'm a big fan of Walt Disney, and actually have you heard this podcast called Acquired?
No.
Oh man. A friend of mine, Bruce, recommended this podcast to me. The episodes are long. They're like 3 to 4 hours, but I chunk them out in like 20-30-minute kind of bits. And they've been running for 10 years. So they started pretty early in the podcast game, and they do episodes. They're two guys from San Francisco. They do these brilliant episodes on companies and the history, right? So Walt Disney, Ferrari, Costco, all these really cool brands that we know today from the beginning, right? Like how they all started. and the one of their latest episodes was on Walt Disney, and this guy literally just followed his imagination. Like, the business that he built started with cartoons, and then they created this beautiful like IP to merchandise flywheel to the movies. And then following his imagination, he gets obsessed with trains and then decides to open a theme park, and totally like converts the business. Like that is their main, the $96 billion in revenue that Walt Disney Corporation generates every year. The majority and the most profitable comes from the parks and cruises, right? The experiences. The guy was following his imagination.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because when you sort of think, and again, just playing it back to the industry that you're in, you kind of think, oh, it's very product centric. It's driven by, tech. It's driven by technical evolution, or, sort of somebody comes up with a really, really good idea for a, product that's going to solve a particular need within the market. And yet, if you trace all of those things right the way back to their core, these are imagination, these are ideas, these are little moments that just floated by and you grabbed it. These are kind of those things that they're not technical or scientific, are they? They're very, very human. And even if you start thinking about AI in the way that you've described, a good implementation of AI, it's about stopping and thinking and considering it's just opening the imagination to the thought and to the idea. It's everywhere, isn't it?
It's everywhere. And like, life smacks us around and we stop believing. And like my challenge to everyone with us is that's okay. Like, life's going to smack us around, but don't stop believing. As the song goes, right? Don't stop believing. And write down what you think and believe. Those things, those ideas come from whatever you believe, God, the universe, right? From this cosmic intelligence. And if you're willing to receive them and act on them, the promise is just beautiful, and that goes from the idea of, finding a loved one, to starting a business, to running a campaign that you believe is just going to smash it, right? Like just trust in that idea and commit to it and take off. Allow yourself to take off. You won't regret it.
So critical. Yeah. I mean, one of the, when you're describing where this kind of imagination, these ideas and stuff come from, one of the things that you didn't mention there, which I guess you and I do get the benefit of kind of having those sorts of inspirational moments, is because, we network through podcasting. We connect with people. You and I have connected. We're on different sides of the world, well, different sides of the Atlantic, and Pacific, where you are, depends which way you want to go. But it is that kind of human connection, that human networking, again, that can stimulate ideas. I mean, we've obviously got a title for this particular conversation, and we have so deviated from it, but for totally the right reasons. And it's only with these kinds of conversations where you open up just those thought processes with somebody that you don't know particularly well, and suddenly you realize, we've got a lot of commonality. Wow, actually, we think about a lot of things similarly. And whoa, you've got this idea, and now I've got this vision of beach in San Diego and this guy prospecting for gold on the beach kind of thing. And it's that sharing, though, isn't it? It's that sharing and communicating. It's so critical.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And like, one thing that you just said, and as you approach your work, look for commonalities rather than differences. And when you look for those, you're going to find opportunities in messaging, in creative, in positioning, and also find different ways to really help your solution, your product land in an even better way. If you're in sales, thinking about those commonalities versus differences will help you connect with people better. But what you said resonated on that front. Like spend more time looking for commonalities than differences, and you'll get a lot of ROI from that thinking.
Do you find that sort of when you're doing that? I mean, I'm sort of sensing that you're a very reflective kind of person, which makes this kind of an approach relatively straightforward because it plays to a preference that you have. If somebody's listening to this and thinks, "Oh, so Neil, yeah, great. If you're that kind of person, but I'm not. I don't spend the time. I don't have the patience to do that." Would you see something like, again, we come back to AI, as being a good potential sparring partner in a positive sense for that? Because, you've always got AI to hand. It's on your phone, it's on your computer, and you can obviously have a conversation with it. And it's always there maybe to sort of train that skill because it feels like it's a habit that's worth developing, even if it isn't somebody's preference.
Yeah, I think so. On the idea of looking for commonalities, I think if it's not your natural go-to, yeah, you could prompt AI to help you on on a messaging or a campaign strategy. You could also write it on a Post-it note and put it like above your computer so that you can actually remember to do that, or let's just say you've developed a skill. Like I've been doing a lot with Claude skills lately. And by the way, I'm like blown away with the skills feature on Claude. And so what it'll do is I've programmed my Claude to take a look at my calendar and do research on the folks I'm about to meet with, and then give me some tidbits delivered to my email. Oh no, Slack. Actually, I was having a hard time getting it into Slack, but now it actually is pushing the notifications into my Slack. And then if you want, as part of that output, you could say, give me the 3 things that I have in common with this person, right? Like you could have AI bring that out in the research as well. So kind of like answering your question around how can I use AI to be that sparring partner and help me get there? That could be a good way to do it, for sure.
Because it feels that, for a lot of people, as we've discussed a little earlier, they have the perception that I don't have time for this. I've got all these deadlines, I've got all these commitments, I've got all these responsibilities. I haven't really got time for this stuff. It sounds great. And, I'm hearing you talking about this, guys, but I'm not going to be able to make the time. This is about blend, isn't it? This is about blending in those little moments. Blending. I mean, you do things on the beach, you'll walk and you'll be reflecting. I know that. Obviously, you're journaling, as you say. We've all got that potential for space, be it if you're on a commute, maybe you have to drive to do something, just before you go to sleep at night. There is always space if you choose to take it, isn't there?
Neil, for sure. I will say, like a couple, let me think about when it was. So it's August. By the way, I really admire how you can turn these podcasts around so quickly. Like you turn these around in 48 hours. It takes us about 2 weeks. So like a couple of months ago, it was March actually. So March of this year, I was in a different place mentally. I was, so I was 17 years corporate guy, sales and marketing for MedTech, mostly sales. And then July 4th, 3 years ago, I went all in and started this business, right? The agency. And I started this year in kind of like a really bad place mentally. I was not really enjoying my time or even like what I was doing on a day to day. Like I was not happy, right? Like January, February, March. I was having a really hard time. And I had this conversation with a client of mine, and I just said, "Man, Mark, like I'm in this really weird funk right now. Like you look at me from the outside and things look great, but on the inside, I'm not feeling that way. I'm feeling like this sucks. Like I'm not enjoying shit. Like I'm not enjoying anything. Like that was the vibe. That's where I was." And Mark just shared kind of like, "Hey man, like, I mean, you're the CEO of your company, like choose to do stuff you enjoy." And he gave me this, we were sitting at dinner and just like make a list of what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy and do more of what you enjoy and do less of what you don't. And I'm like, Mark, I needed that message. It's so simple. But we can all get in our own way sometimes, and and I was getting in my own way. I used that opportunity to connect with Mark, and it really made a difference for me. I started focusing on what I enjoy. What do I enjoy most? And I was doing a lot of things that I wasn't enjoying, and it turns out some of my team loves doing those things. So like I've given them the joy of doing things that they want to do while I don't have to do them. I'm in a much better place. So it's like August now, April, May, June, July. So April, May, June, July, August. So 5 months later, I'm in a much better place, than I was back in March. So, you might find yourself where I was in March right now. And that's okay, because this thing zigzags. And, maybe this podcast is what you needed to hear right now to help you think differently and to get out of this loop that you might be in right now. Or maybe you're in a great spot right now and you're just hearing this and thinking, damn, I'm on fire and I'm going to keep doing this. Then that's great too, and I hope that it lands the way that it needs to land for you right now.
So it's reflection and sharing, isn't it? I think is the mantra here. You've talked right at the start of our conversation, which was about, building the strategy, having the vision, purpose driven. Yeah. And all of that stuff is absolutely great. And, it's admirable, for people who are kind of living that way. But at a very base level, it is about reflecting on what you want, what you need, what the little ecosystem community around you need, maybe family, but also in work. And then it's about communicating it. And I guess for the introverts in the audience, me included, that is a tricky one, because we think we've said, and we haven't probably most of the time. It's all been processed in our heads. So there's a kind of almost a wake up moment there for, okay, it's all very well doing the reflection and journaling, but the important stuff, share with significant others, because the colleague, might be able to step up and help you. Your partner might be able to take something away from you. It's the answer is already there. Again, like your gold prospector, it's probably hiding in plain sight, isn't it?
For sure, and you're spot on, Neil. Like be open about it. We need more openness, especially in today's AI world, and you'll be surprised to find out, and maybe not, but you're not alone. And just talking about it with a fellow CEO or another person, like you said, could really mean the year for you.
Yeah, it really could. It could be that simple. It could be that close. Again, the whole kind of digging for gold analogy, isn't it? It's like that gold seam was probably just one pickaxe away. It was just, and yet you stopped. It's like, no,
Yeah,
you were nearly there. You were
gold story.
There.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
It is. That's the reality, isn't it? And we'll never know if you don't push it, you don't try it, if you don't experiment, if you don't reflect, you'll never know. Wow. Saul, I didn't think this conversation was going to go anywhere in this kind of direction at all. Isn't that just the
I
wonder of
don't either.
podcasting?
Yeah,
No,
it's great.
no, I had no idea. I thought we were going to keep it all marketing-y and scientific, but actually we went down the human route, which is way more interesting anyway. But I want to connect people with you because I know people are going to want to follow up and find out more about the business, find out more about you, find out more about the podcast. Where should they go?
Yeah, Neil, thank you. If you're in healthcare, and if you have a software company in healthcare or a medical device company, and you're looking to help position and grow your business, you might be overwhelmed. You might just need an extra hand or an extra brain to help you think through some challenges and opportunities. You can reach us at outcomesrocket.com. We do business in the US, but also in the UK. Actually, one of our leaders, Alexis Anderson, she lives in the UK. And so we'd be happy to serve you however you see fit. Outcomesrocket.com is the best place to reach us. If you want to reach out to me personally, LinkedIn is always a great way as well. Just remember that framework, strategy. That's the basic thing that you need in place for your marketing and your AI. And then once you have that in place, it's those fundamentals of owned, earned, paid to be able to algorithmically get to the same endpoint of awareness, consideration, decision. You could get there. And then in the end of the day, be human, be true to your voice, be true to your soul.
Sage advice. Saul, this has just been such a great conversation. Really enjoyed it. And I still can't get that picture of San Diego Beach out of my mind. I want that 7-minute drive that you've got.
Hey, come out and visit, Neil. We'll hang out. We'll have a good time. I have a feeling we'll have a good time together.
That could work out, definitely. Right. Where's the airport? Where is it? Come on. No, it's great. So thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Neil.